Do you know a Peter Parker who's Spider-Man?
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
Hello and welcome to the Nerdy Worry and Happy New Year. We've been off for a little bit, but we are going to start this year off with a bang with our Spider-Man No Way Home review and discussion. We are your hosts. I am Robert.
I'm Billy, and also Happy New Year for me too. Just gotta say it.
Yes, happy one revolution around the sun and continuing on with that.
Exactly. and to many more, knock on wood.
Why don't we just get straight into this, because this is probably the biggest movie that we'll have in the last few years, because this has reached the $1 billion mark as of right now. It has been the highest grossing film of 2021, and it's one of the highest rated films of all time on Rotten Tomatoes with a 98% review from audiences. So I think this is a good movie, but we're going to see how we feel at the end.
Ooh. Sounds like foreshadowing.
Maybe just a little tease at the end.
Okay.
Why don't you give us your thoughts, Billy? Because I know you want me to talk for most of this, since I usually have a lot more to say.
So my opinion, I think, is going to surprise people. I hated it.
Unbelievable.
And now let me explain. That was a joke. I loved the movie. It was great. It was so good. Oh my God. So when I first got out of the movie theater, I thought it was really good, but I didn't think I like it better now after I thought about it more than when I did when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that annoyed me, there's one thing that annoyed me.
Okay.
That the movie was so good that it caused people in the theater to scream at certain parts in the theater, like when the movie was happening.
Okay.
Like everyone was like, whoa, at certain parts.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear the film over them. So like, can I give a spoiler right now or do I wait?
This is completely spoilerific. This is going to be known right now. We're going to
Okay, so this is the warning. So when Matthew Murdock, right? That's his name?
Matt Murdock, yeah.
Matt Murdock. When he showed up, everyone was like, whoa! And I completely missed the reason why Peter doesn't have any legal troubles anymore. That whole explanation about why he's not in trouble anymore, I missed. I don't know why all that got swept under the rug, but it did.
Well, I'll give you the explanation, Billy.
Okay.
There is no explanation for why he got out of his legal troubles. He basically is just telling Peter, like, "Oh, you've dodged your legal troubles right now." Basically, he didn't say why. He didn't say specifically why he did it, but Matt Murdock is very good at his job, so he can be able to do that.
So good that he can catch a brick out of the air, mid-air before Peter gets to catch it, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's the only thing that kind of aggravated me. Not like made me upset, but I was just like, oh, I wish I could hear what they're saying right now, but everyone's screaming.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, what'd you think?
I really love the movie, so much so that I have not watched it just once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but a whole 5 times. I watched it 3 times in a 24-hour period, which is a good record for me.
So is this your favorite movie of all time now?
No, it's not.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun. I know. Very, very interesting that I have watched it so many times, and yet it's not my favorite movie. It's one of my favorite movies, but it is not my favorite movie. It has not eclipsed Avengers Endgame, in my opinion. Avengers Endgame and Infinity War are still above this movie, but this movie's close.
Okay, I would say this one is nicely sandwiched between Endgame and Infinity War, yeah. But I can see how you'd say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what did you notice the second, third, fourth, and fifth times that you saw this movie?
All right, so wait, how many times have you seen it? Just once?
I've only got to see it once.
Wow, so you saw it opening night, which was like almost 2 weeks ago, like almost over 2 weeks ago, and I
haven't had a chance to see it. I wanted to see it again this week, but I couldn't. So then
I mean, I think you would have been able to see more stuff if you got to see it the second time or the third time. Because
the
I
first
noticed
time
things
it's
on
like-
the second time, literally the same night that I saw it the first time. Because I'll tell you, the timeline of when I saw it was I watched it at 3:30 in the afternoon, opening night day, basically, the Thursday night, and then I watched it again at 2 a.m. on Friday morning. I guess you could say Thursday night, Friday morning, that in between period.
They're still showing it at 2 a.m.
Surprisingly enough, yeah, like my friend told me that there was a 2 a.m. showing, and I'm like, I want to see this again, and I don't want to wait until we actually go and see it on Friday night. So I'll just go at 2 a.m. And I drove us down to Somerville, by the way, the AMC in Somerville, because we were trying to get an IMAX theater, and we got the only one that had like a 2 a.m. like morning showing. So we got a few seats for the IMAX showing at 2 a.m. in Somerville, and we got to watch it again. Well, I got to watch it again. Some of my friends got to see it for the first time. I got to see it for the second time.
How many people were there when you saw it? At
Oh, a
2
lot
a.m.?
of people. It was almost full.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
And then-
hilarious.
And then the third time, of course, was Friday night when I saw it again in a regular movie theater, not an IMAX, but just regular.
Mhm.
So
That's
that was the 24-hour period of me watching No Way Home. And then I watched it again. When was the next time I watched it again? I think I watched it on Christmas Eve, actually. I watched it on Christmas Eve.
oh, nice.
Yeah, my friend invited me, and I was like, yeah, of course I'll see it. Why would I say no?
Well, I can turn down.
No. And then I watched it again on Tuesday of this week.
Mhm.
So
So
I
we need to
watched
go.
it-
What I'm hearing is you need to take me now. You've seen it with almost every other person in this planet.
Yeah,
You need to
you
see
have
it.
to go and see it again.
Exactly. I want to see it again.
Yeah.
It was good, and I know I'm gonna see things that I didn't notice the first time,
Mhm.
and some things that I think I'll notice now that you point them out.
So why don't we get into like the little details you may have missed and some of the bigger parts that I kind of want to just highlight, because we're not going to go through the whole plot of the movie, because I feel like anybody who's seeing this episode has seen the movie at least once or twice, so they'll know what the plot is, right?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's probably seen it more than you.
I feel
there's
like
probably
there's a
some
bunch of
people out
hardcore
there.
fans out there who are going to be like, I'm going to watch it as many times as I can.
Yeah, most people. I think you're in like the top 1%.
Oh yeah, and the percentiles, I'm in the 1% of people who have watched it X amount of times.
Yeah, probably more than like Tom Holland has actually watched it.
Well, probably.
So I don't know.
Mm.
Anywho, though, well, actually, I feel like probably because at least for me, I have a hard time watching myself on camera. I don't know if he has a hard time watching himself on it,
I don't know.
but I don't know. That's a whole separate discussion. Anywho, what part do you want to bring up first?
All right, so let's just bring up the fact that we just already talked about Matt Murdock and Matt Murdock being in the MCU. And are you aware that this is the Daredevil, the character
TV
from
series?
the okay, so it's from the series from Netflix, which is pretty important because as we'll get into another episode from the Hawkeye series, if you haven't seen that, spoiler warning ahead. Kingpin is in that show as well, which is also from the Netflix series. So two people from the Netflix Daredevil series are now in the MCU.
Is that the actor who plays him in? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that one.
So
I haven't seen the Daredevil show.
it's this weird, is it not like MCU canon? Like, I know there's a lot of shows that were made on like public TV and like ABC who are not canon, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But
Agent
now
Carter.
now it's kind of like this weird loosey-goosey thing where it's like, is this canon or is it not canon now? Because now these are in the MCU. I don't know.
With the multiverse, you could say it's canon. It's just not the universe that are in the movies.
Yeah, they're variants of themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I absolutely did love this scene with Matt Murdock. And yes, the first few times that I did see it, everybody in the theater cheered because we all knew he was going to come in. And I think we actually even discussed it before, on or off camera. It was just like, when is he going to do it? And it's like this moment in which he's just being the lawyer and he's just telling him that his legal troubles are over, but now he has a lot more issues to follow, which will be followed in the next few scenes. And then he, of course, catches the brick coming through the window. And did you notice that like Tom Holland like went to grab for the brick too?
Yeah, you don't like that, but I think
Yeah,
it can.
the spider sense activated, but like Matt Murdock was like, I noticed this first because he has his own sensory perception of knowing that it's coming in, so he can just like grab it.
Yeah. It was very impressive.
It was very
Definitely
impressive.
surprised Peter. Right.
Which of course will probably lead into something leading him to be Daredevil into the MCU, probably in like the Echo series or maybe another Disney Plus series that will come out that will kind of involve him in some way. Maybe even She-Hulk, because She-Hulk is a lawyer too, so like maybe he's going to interact with her at some point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they're gonna make it like the TV show like canon, or if it's just gonna be like a variant of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if I have to watch the show. I'm probably gonna watch it anyway, but I
Yeah.
want to know if I have to watch it to understand.
Yeah, exactly. So the next part I want to talk about is when Peter decides that he's going to go to the Sanctum Sanctorum and ask Doctor Strange to cast some spell or do something to kind of help him, right? I think it was interesting that Wong is now the Sorcerer Supreme on the
I couldn't wait to
technicality.
hear your opinion on this.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, you know, Doctor Strange has been here for 5 years, so he's not around to be like, you know, rising up in the ranks. So obviously, like Wong, who's probably like, you know, made his way through the ranks in Carmitage, is like, yeah, you're the Sorcerer Supreme. So it makes sense. But that kind of theorizes for me that it may lead to, in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, that Wong may get killed off. And then Doctor Strange will become the Sorcerer Supreme?
I really hope not. Oh man, I hope not. Wong is awesome.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much that happened in this movie.
Can you retire from Sorcerer Supreme?
I don't think so. I think you have to hold that title until you die. I mean, just ask the Ancient One. Oh, wait, you can't. She's dead because...
Well, she never wanted to retire. Right?
Well, that's true. She always just wanted to be alive forever.
Exactly. I don't know. I hope that's not true.
Yeah. But did you
knowing
notice...
it's probably right.
Did you notice that, like, the dialogue between Doctor Strange and Wong when they were arguing about the spell was completely different from the trailer?
Yeah, they changed it.
But then they said the same thing in Multiverse of Madness trailer. They had like the first few seconds you could hear like the snippets of the dialogue from the trailer, not from the movie, which is interesting.
Well, is the dialogue different in the movie? So I know like what they're saying is different because they added stuff in between them. But I think the dialogue is the same. They just added stuff in between them. So now so Wong was saying, "Don't mess with time." And then Doctor Strange.
I can tell you exactly what they said since I've watched it like 5 times.
Okay, tell me what they say.
Okay, so like Spider-Man says that like, can you go back in time, use the time stone, go back in time and make it that Mysterio never revealed his identity? And Doctor Strange is like, this was an interesting detail that I noticed as well. Doctor Strange says, we tampered with the stability of space-time in order to resurrect countless lives. And then he's like, and so you want me to do it again because yours is a little messy? So he's implying here that he believes that the time stone that he used kind of made the shift to get everybody back from the snap in Infinity War, which kind of leads to my theory being kind of right. Of course, now we know it's not right because the multiverse was always going to be like snip by the TVA. But it kind of leads to my thing of like Doctor Strange believes that he kind of pushed the path to going into allowing people to come back 5 years later because of the time stone, you know, because of his decision to give the time stone to Thanos and all that stuff. So that's what his thought process is. And I understand the thought process because maybe he didn't understand that like the TVA exists or maybe the multiverse didn't exist.
Probably
the
not,
time.
because he says in it that they don't really understand much about it.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think that was an interesting detail for me. It's like point one for me on my argument about Doctor Strange being more important.
Well, I never disagreed with the fact that he did set it on the timeline.
Yeah.
But I said he shouldn't get all the credit.
Yeah, there's a difference.
there's a difference.
Yeah. But then Peter's
It's like
like,
Bill Belichick choosing a play to run.
mhm.
And I don't know who the new quarterback is, so I'm just gonna say Tom Brady. Um, it's like Bill Belichick choosing the play to run and then Tom Brady actually running. Who
Mhm.
gets more credit?
Yeah. So Peter then says, like, oh yeah, that's right, you don't have the time stone. Just like forget about it. Sorry, wasting your time. He's like, no, you didn't waste your time. And then Peter's like, just forget about it. And then Wong's like, he's gonna be good at forgetting that. And then he's like, oh my God, Wong, you gave me an excellent idea. And then he says like the runes of Kafka, which are the forgetting spell, simple forgetting spell. And then he's like, yeah, we could use it to make sure people forget who you are. And Peter's like, that's awesome. That'd be great. And then Wong's like, no, that's not great. And he says that the spell borders between known and unknown realities. And then Strange is like, well, Wong, wait, we've used it for far less. Do you remember the full moon party at Commentage? And then Wong's like, no. And he's like, exactly.
You could have been
And
making
then-
that up.
Yeah. And then Strange is like, come on, Wong. Hasn't he been through enough? And then Wong's like, just leave me out of this. And then he just like goes through the portal and like goes to Carmitage, and that's it. That's the whole conversation.
Yeah.
So that's completely different from the trailer where he's like, don't cast that spell. It's too dangerous. And then Strange is like, fine, I won't. That might be from like a different take from when they did a different take from that scene. And they probably like ad-libbed some lines in there. But it's a very interesting thing that it's deviating from the trailer and the movie itself. And then they go back to that same dialogue in the Multiverse of Madness trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
We'll find out.
Mhm.
Probably. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
Anywho,
we go down to the basement, the wizard's dungeon,
yeah.
where they perform the spell, and they perform the spell. So I always was the advocate that I didn't think that Peter was the one who destroyed the multiverse, because we already saw that Sylvie was the one who destroyed the multiverse.
Yeah.
That's fact. But of course, they're kind of ignorant of that fact because they are outside of the place of outside of time, basically, the Citadel where it happened.
Mhm.
So each time that he had to do the spell, he had to revise it each time to include a new person for Peter. So he included MJ, included Ned, Aunt May, Happy, and then like he was to include like, other people for Peter's life, so that way like everybody who knows that he was Spider-Man before could still know. So
Everyone that he thinks should know.
yeah.
Right.
So he changed the spell 5 times,
Mhm.
but Strange says 6 times, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the 6th time was?
You already sent me the text on it. So
Yeah.
I can tell you, but it's not going to be like my brilliant thing. It was Doctor Strange, probably.
It might have been. We don't know because obviously it's like we don't know what happens. We know he changed it 5 times, but we didn't see the 6th time that he changed it. So it could have been for him, but he's still mad about the other 5 times.
Yeah. I think that's just like a great detail that they don't even mention. They just kind of let it happen and let people find it on their own.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
And then what I thought when I first saw it, and I kind of will still argue this now, is that when the spell was like going through that little bluish glow that is like reminiscent of what happened in the season finale of Loki when the multiverse split, that little white little like curve thing, people are like, oh, that looks like Dr. Octopus's like tentacle and whatever. I'm like, okay, it could be that. But I still argue that it might have been just like one of the timelines coming through and branching and like getting hit by the spell. And it's like, oh, it grazed it, you know, and then it gets like sucked in.
I need to see it again.
Yeah.
I
Because
think
it's a
that's gonna
very
be the
quick,
moral
like
of this
second to see
episode.
like the little white
But,
little thing come out.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I can picture what. Like, I know when it's happening, but I can't picture like the details that you're saying right now.
Right. You haven't seen it 5
So you
times.
think? So what do you think it is? Yeah. So which theory do you think are you leaning towards right now?
I'm leaning towards that it's like one of the timelines like spewing off from the main timeline from like the Loki series, and it's like one of the Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield timelines just getting like grazed.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I mean, I think that makes most sense.
Mm-hmm. But I could also go with the fact that, you know, it could have been Dr. Octopus from the Sam Raimi Tobey Maguire series, because as we'll see at the end, you know, those people in the sky are reminiscent of other universes, so it could always be possible.
I knew those people were important.
Oh,
I
they're
couldn't have
important.
told you who they were exactly, but I was like, I know Rob is gonna come to me with like, this is this person, this is this person, and
Yeah.
then like a week later, before this, he sent me a TikTok thing where it's like, this is this person, this is this person.
Yep.
And I knew
I
you'd
knew
send it to me. I knew you'd tell me.
So after this spell happens, we get to see the bridge fight, which is probably amazing to see how our Tom Holland Peter Parker deals with the old villain of Dr. Octopus, which is
Quite
completely
easily.
different. Quite easily, yeah.
Yeah. Like, fight did not last long,
No.
and he won pretty like handily.
Yeah, because he just got to Bluetooth pair the tentacles to his suit and it's just like, I'm going to control it now.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool.
It was very cool, but it's kind of anticlimactic, I felt at the same time. A little bit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Very cool, though.
Mm-hmm. And then we see like the Green Goblin. And by the way, I think like the music is very important. So if you watch it a second time, listen very carefully for like, I don't know if you'll remember the iconic music from the Sam Raimi trilogy, but you'll hear like the Dr. Octopus theme embedded into the soundtrack and the Green Goblin theme embedded into the soundtrack as well. You'll kind of hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like prominent because obviously it has to be like very differently for the movie, but it's distinct and you'll hear it pretty distinctly. Like the Green Goblin theme is very prominent when he first enters into the movie. So
I have to listen for that next time then. Wait. So what'd you think about Spider-Man just like getting taken off the bridge at that exact moment?
I thought something was gonna happen, but then he got like transported, so I'm like, phew.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, no fight?
Hey, I'm happy with just having one fight and then just going to the transition. I'm fine with that.
I thought the way they did it, I think is so much better than if they did have a fight.
Yeah.
But it surprised me.
Mm-hmm. And then we get the discussion in the dungeon basically about how, you know, your spell caused the people to squeak on through into our universe.
Yeah.
And I think this is interesting that like Doctor Strange is like, we know frighteningly little about the multiverse. But he also says that this shouldn't be possible, which means that one, he knows a little bit about the multiverse, but of course the multiverse is like, you know, supposed to be kind of tucked away, as we know from Loki. But of course, he uses the energy coming from the multiverse to like generate magic. So at least he knows something of it. But he should know that like all these other universes should not enter into our universe. And that's why he's saying that it's not possible. It shouldn't be possible. So he's kind of like clicking in his head like something's wrong here.
Yeah. That's it. That's an interesting detail that they say they know little, but then he says it shouldn't be possible.
Yeah. Well, they know frighteningly little about the multiverse because it's supposed to be like away from
out of their control.
Right. They just know of it because they use the energy from the multiverse as like the conduit to create magic, you know.
Interesting. I do have a question for you, but then I realized it doesn't happen until later. Very
Well, ask the question. Ask the question. I mean, I
Okay,
know I'm
so-
going in order, but like this is just like highlights.
So Spider-Man catches some other people. I don't know if we want to. I don't know. Spider-Man catches some people, and then Doctor Strange says how they have to send him back. But this is right when Peter finds out that all of them don't make it through their fight with their individual Spider-Man.
Most of them don't make it.
Yeah, most of them don't make it. Good catch.
Yeah.
Good catch. And then Spider-Man takes the black box thingy,
Mm-hmm.
and
The
runs out.
macronomus, yes.
Thank you. And then he runs out into the street, and then Doctor Strange pushes like the astro form of him out, and then he tries to get the box, and Spider-Man's like, body? I don't know if we just call it the body. It's like dodging Doctor
Oh
Strange.
yes, yes.
And he's like, this shouldn't be possible. And Peter's
There's a
like,
reason for that, yes, that I will get into.
okay.
Yeah.
What's the reason?
You want to get into it now?
I want to get into it now.
Okay, so if you'll see for the second time as well, when Peter gets pushed out of his physical form into his astral form will actually have like the spider sense tingling from like how it looks in the comics around his head.
Okay, I think I remember noticing something like that.
Yeah, it's like a little wavy little effect that's going on around his head, right?
Mm-hmm.
That spider sense from his astral form can react to things happening in his physical form. So go back to, let's say, the first Spider-Man movie from Tobey Maguire.
Okay.
He can react pretty quickly to certain like attacks. Like if you remember the Flash Thompson fight, he can go like, whoa, and he's like, whoa, this is so weird. And just like go by it really like quickly,
And then win the limbo contest.
Yeah. So since his astral form is pushed out of his body, I feel like the spider sense still works, and like his physical form can still react in that form,
In essence.
because his spider sense is like, oh, something's happening,
Subconscious.
but like my body's not connected, so I'll just react. The body itself will just react. So they're like two independent like states,
Would you say it's like the conscious and the unconscious? Like his conscious state got
Yeah.
booted out into the street, and his subconscious is still
Moving it.
making him dodge stuff?
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. I knew you'd have an explanation for it. I was like, this is so up Rob's alley.
Yeah, that was I didn't notice the spider sense part until the second time I watched it, and then I saw the little halo. I was like, oh, there it is. Because I had to see it in IMAX, like front row center, and I was like, oh, there it is. I can actually see it like clear as day,
Awesome. I can't wait to see it again. All these things are going to be so cool to see again.
Yeah. So,
okay, but I cut you off on the train.
Yeah. So we go back to the dungeon when they first get into the dungeon. We got to the part where he says that the multiverse shouldn't be doing this. And then he goes to Dr. Octopus. It's like, do you know Peter Parker who's Spider-Man? And he's like, yes. And he's like, is that him? And it's like, no. Which of course, was a very big foreshadowing for the longest time that, the other Spider-Man are probably going to be in this movie, which they were. So it's kind of weird that they had to have that in like a trailer and a little clip of the movie itself, but still a nice little scene to have.
I agree.
And Doctor Strange takes the nanotechnology little device that Peter has on him and changes part of it into being like the web slinger with the magic, which is pretty cool. But you'll see later on in the movie, and I didn't realize this until a few days ago, that like when they're doing their big fight, like when Peter tries to web him with that same device, Strange like makes it disappear. And I was kind of curious as to like, remember how he got the nanotechnology back from Dr. Octopus? Why it didn't fully complete his suit? Why he just left like part of his suit exposed and the other part had nanotechnology design on it? And it's because like Dr. Octopus took part of the nanotechnology, right, onto his tentacles. But then the rest of it was on that little device that Doctor Strange made into magic. But then Doctor Strange took that nanotechnology away. So that was kind of like the first part of Spider-Man losing things that he had beforehand. Because now he doesn't have that nanotechnology. He has like part of it on his suit, but not all of it, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a nice little detail there.
Yeah. Something you see like after a few showings.
It's the little thing.
Yeah.
Right? That count?
Yeah. So I think what was also funny is that when Ned and MJ go into the sanctum and Ned's like, so how'd you know you were magic? Because like my nana says it's in our family, I have these little tinglings in my hands, and Dr. Strange is like, you should probably see your physician. Which he is a physician. Like you should know. I think he's just a little peeved that this is all happening.
Probably. Oh, that was so funny, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Which
they
is
go
great
down.
foreshadowing for later on.
Yeah. And then they go down to the Undercroft and like they, Scooby-Doo this shit and like
Yeah. I'm glad
go
they
on the
actually had
internet
that
and
line
try
in the
and
movie.
find Norman Osborn. And they
Yep.
say that like on the news article that they're reading online, they say that he's going to like a military facility, right? Which can kind of reference to Oscorp, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
Like the one that's upstate, the one we see in the first Spider-Man movie, like that laboratory where he makes the Green Goblin serum.
Probably, right?
Yeah. But of course, it doesn't exist as Oscorp. It exists as something completely different. It's probably it is a military site, but just not one that has Oscorp involved.
I would also like to point out here that I think it's great that all of the characters still act as if like they're still in their timeline where they're still in the fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like on the bridge scene, like when he's asking Peter about like where's his device, where's the sun in his hand, and Peter's like, I
Where's
don't
the
know what you're
sun in the
talking
palm of
about.
my hand? And he's like, wait, what machine are you talking
like,
about? Can you just stop throwing cars?
Yeah, I thought that was great. Like where
Yeah.
it just picked up basically where it left off. I thought that was a great little.
I mean, also Norman Osborn's like, I go to my place, someone else is living there. Oscorp doesn't exist, and my son, and I'm like, if you haven't seen these movies, you don't understand how powerful that whole line is.
Yeah, right.
But that was still during the time when Norman Osborn still cared about his son, at least a little bit inside, even though the Green Goblin persona was still, in his body. He still thought about his son at least a little bit,
Yeah. Genius.
I mean, even like what I also found very interesting in this movie is that like they reference that they somehow know each other, even though these movies have been completely independent of each other. Like Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 were completely independent movies, and they only interconnected with Peter's life and not like with each other. But somehow, some way, Norman Osborn, knows Dr. Octavius for some reason, even though that's never clarified at all. That somehow they know each other.
Well, they're both in the scientific community, right? I guess they probably work
Do
together.
you know every scientist? Do I know every scientist? Probably not, but it's like
no.
I get it. Maybe they're prominent, but it's like, how is it that they know each other? Like you could be like, oh, you're the dude from the thing, but it's like it seems like they almost have like a personal connection. Almost.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not to Spider-Man, but just independent from Spider-Man.
I don't know what their fields of research were. So I don't know. Maybe they could both be prominent in the same genre.
Yeah.
I don't quite know.
Right.
Like I don't think it'd be like a hop, skip, and a jump to say Stephen Hawking knew Kip Thorne. It's kind of like in the same genre.
But they're still prominent, so I'm kind of like, unless they interacted in some way that we haven't seen on screen, then it makes kind of.
It would have had to be before the first Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The first Tobey Maguire one.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but I did watch some of. I only got to see part of it because it was on TV. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. But there were some parts in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man where they name drop some people. And I'm like, I got that this time.
I understood that reference.
Exactly. Because when I was young, I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah.
So back then, I didn't understand like when they mentioned that Peter gets fired from Dr. Kirk Connors. I'm like, oh, Peter just said, they don't talk about it ever again in this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Yeah. I just think it's funny.
Mm.
But
So
from
I want to get your opinion
okay,
on Electro and Sandman. That whole big scene with them with Spider-Man. What did you think of that?
the first thing I thought of when you said them two was you gotta watch out where you fall.
True.
I love all like the jokes where they're kind of making fun of the logic in them.
Hmm. Of how
But
it worked in the movies, yeah.
I thought it was great to see Sandman still a good person because that's how it kind of ends in Spider-Man 3, where he's
Hmm.
oh, like him and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man are kind of
Yeah.
like not friends, but like
They're
they work
understanding. They're
together.
not going to fight each other. It's like, hey, I didn't kill your Uncle Ben on purpose. It was an
Yeah.
accident.
Uh-huh.
I just don't make dumb mistakes.
Mhm. Exactly. And I like to see how everyone thinks like the Tom Holland Spider-Man is whoever's Spider-Man is their own Spider-Man.
I mean, it makes sense because they don't realize the multiverse is a thing.
It
So,
makes sense. Yeah. So it was nice to see him talking to Tom Holland, Tom Holland Spider-Man, like, remember me? It's Sandman. Like, you need any
mhm.
help or something like that? And Peter's like, yeah, just help me catch this guy. I thought it
Let
was
me
really
get this
cute.
guy down.
Yeah. I also like how the black suit came about because they dyed it black because someone threw paint on his other suit. Is that
They
true?
didn't dye it black. It's just inside out.
Oh, is that what it was? Because
Yeah.
I remember them. There's a scene where I think it was Peter. You'll tell me when he's looking through stuff in the basement and they see like hair dye.
Oh yeah, like the goatee guy, the
Yeah,
dye for Doctor Strange. Yeah.
I thought they used that to like dye the suit black.
No, the suit was just inside out. It
I
was just
see.
made inside out. It's like all the wiring and everything that's like on the inside is now on the outside because
I
like the
see.
green from the paint is like blocking everything. So it's like until he gets it clean, he had to like put it inside out, which makes make it look cool.
Yeah, I agree. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think that's just like a college student thing. Like my shirt's dirty, I'll just turn it inside out.
if that helped. What did you
Yeah,
think of Electro? Because I know Electro probably had the
different.
biggest 180 revolution in the entire movie.
Very different
Yeah.
than I've only ever seen the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man 2 once because I
Hmm.
didn't like the ending
Yeah.
growing up. So maybe not like the most qualified source to say about the differences, but
Hmm.
the suit was different, right?
Well, I mean, he didn't have a suit because he was pure energy almost, and he didn't have clothes. He was just like energy.
Yeah, right.
But he
So
changed from blue to being a normal dude that could just conduct yellow electricity, like
yeah.
like it is in the almost in the comics.
hmm At the end of the Andrew Garfield movie,
Hmm.
what happens?
He gets into like the power grid while they're fighting, and
Mhm.
he decides to overload the grid so
Oh,
that way
that's
he
right.
can like explode, and he explodes and dies basically.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Very different.
Mhm.
So
Hey, at
would you?
least he's no longer blue and translucent. I'm fine. He's a normal dude.
I
I mean,
remember that. That was weird.
I did like that he was like, "Oh, so we're just not gonna care that I'm standing here buck ass naked." And it's like, "I am." Sam was like, "I am. I'm fine with not having to notice." So he gets like the
that
clothes from like the janitors from like the workers who were at the power plant. So that's how he gets clothes.
yeah, the interaction between other characters is hilarious. Because
Hmm.
even in like the most tense situations, they make it funny somehow.
Yeah. And
Very
that's where
quick.
we kind of transitioned from that scene, and I think we don't really have to talk much about the Norman Osborn scene at the feast place. Not much is really talked about. I mean, obviously he is probably the main villain of this movie, but
Yeah.
we already touched on how he's saying like, my house is with someone else and Oscorp doesn't exist, my son doesn't exist. He's very confused about what's happening. And then Ame's like, oh, we have to help
I
these
think it
people.
humanizes.
Yeah.
The one thing I think this movie does is it humanizes everyone.
Mhm.
Everyone in the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Except maybe Doctor Strange. But even him a little bit. Because he
Yeah.
shows that he cares for Peter.
Hmm.
Right. So I agree. I feel like there's not much other than humanization
Yeah.
of the characters. And we see how Aunt May is inspiring Peter to help them,
Mhm.
which is also important.
Yeah. I think you'll notice also if you see it the second time in the background while Aunt May and Peter are talking that like he takes like some of the donuts and puts them in his pockets as they're like talking.
I saw that the first time, yeah.
Okay, some people had to see it the second time in order
Oh,
to
that
know.
was hilarious to notice that. I remember seeing it because I was like, that's hilarious. 'Cause technically, like, he's rich
It's true.
in his own way.
Hmm.
I think just that's funny that like when Peter and Aunt May's backs are turned.
Yeah, he's like, "No, mine."
Yeah, everyone loves donuts.
Mhm. So we don't again. We then go back to the dungeon, and
Yes.
basically we have what you had just described earlier that they're just all interacting with each other. Like Sandman, who is in the third Spider-Man movie, tells like Doctor Octopus and Green Goblin die in the same exact way that they do in the Spider-Man movies, and then like Dr. Kirk Connors and Electro, they're now conversing with each other, and Dr. Connors is like, "What happened to you, Max? You got a no glasses, a nice haircut, and no bad teeth."
Yeah. There. Oh, it's so funny watching
Like, I
everyone
will make
interact.
you into a makeover, into a lizard. Exactly. I'll make you into a lizard.
I don't remember him talking in the movie.
Dr. Kirk Connors, the lizard?
Yeah,
He did.
did he?
They literally
Okay.
reference how he's like, "Oh my god, the dinosaur can talk."
No, I remember him talking in this one. I don't remember him talking in the first Andrew Garfield movie.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Does he? Okay.
Mhm.
How could? Yeah, I remember him talking in this one
Yeah.
because it's so
Some of
awkward.
the lines are pretty good.
Yeah. Um, Spider-Man does a pretty good job catching everyone pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I think this scene is very helpful for many younger people who may have not have seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and the Andrew Garfield movies, which is
Which you should.
kind of reminiscent about how we are old. When we were young, we were seeing those movies, and now it's like, we have to now kind of explain how things are happening from those movies. You haven't seen them, now you know what's happening.
Are we the old men now?
We are. We are the old men.
Are we the Tobey Maguire old man Spider-Man?
Yeah, think that in.
Okay. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was awesome. So
We haven't even gotten there yet.
if anything, I'm more like the Tom Holland one because he's the shortest.
Yeah, true.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not like any of them.
So
Yeah.
then Doctor Strange comes in with the box. We're just gonna call it the box because I'm not gonna say the technical name all the time.
Yeah.
But we're just talking about the box.
What's the
And
name of the
he
box one more time?
literally, the Macronikodamus, I think it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's what it
You
is.
could have said anything.
Yeah.
It started with an M, and I would have been okay.
But he's about to perform the ritual and about to finish it, and this is where it kind of annoys me that like Peter could have just left it alone and everything would have been fine. But then he decided not to leave it
Fine.
alone, and then like things got out of hand pretty fast.
Yeah. Let me ask you a quick question.
Mhm.
Were you like trying to figure out the motivation, or like you could understand Peter's motivation, but like some of you is still like you should have just left it.
After I saw the movie, after what happens at the end, I go like, if you just like stopped and just let it happen and let Doctor Strange do the thing, you would have been fine. But at the moment, I'm like, I get that, like, he's like, I don't want them to die because he's a very morally good person. So I understand why he's like, I don't want to let them just die, even though it may be their fate. Like, I want them to have a second chance.
Mhm.
It's not fair to them that they know that they die and they just die when they go back. So, like, I understand that, but I just feel like in retrospect, it's like, you should probably think about that because you don't know what the consequences will be of your actions.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I was thinking was I was trying to think would Captain America do it? What would he do in that
What would
instant?
Captain America do?
Exactly. So I was trying to figure out like what he would do in that instance. And I have a couple things, like a couple of points on that.
Mhm.
First, what happens when they go back? Because it could mess up their timeline. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it, it's playing fast and loose with like the structure of the timeline,
Yeah.
which may be like a no-no,
Mhm.
or it may splinter their timelines,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily a bad thing
Mhm.
because everything's splintering anyway.
Yeah.
But so that's one point.
Mhm.
So I was thinking, is the worry about messing up the timeline stopping? Would that have stopped someone from doing what it could be considered the right thing to do by saving these people because they're
Mhm.
afraid what the outcomes would be? And then I realized it's the exact, other than messing with the timeline, it's the exact same thing between Bucky and Captain America.
Mhm.
Bucky kind of gets brainwashed into not being such a good person, and Captain America never gives up on him and eventually saves him and helps him become Bucky Barnes again. It's basically the exact same scenario
Mhm.
where these people aren't themselves because of
Yeah.
some situation. So I thought that was interesting because what Peter does is basically what Captain America does throughout all the movies. So I think he
Mhm.
probably would have stepped up and I don't think he would have had to steal the thing because I think Doctor Strange might have actually listened to
Yeah.
Captain America.
Maybe.
I feel like there's a better chance that he would have listened to him than
Mhm.
Peter. But I think he would have done the same thing.
Because like I'll say this that like I thought of like at one point in the movies did they get taken? And we know when Doctor Octopus got taken because he literally says like he had Spider-Man by the throat, which we know when
Mhm.
that scene happens in Spider-Man 2, and then he gets
Yep.
transported to the MCU. So we
Yep.
know when that happens. We don't know when Doctor Green Goblin. We don't know when he gets transported. I would say he gets transported during the bridge fight with Spider-Man, not when they're like in the building fighting at the final battle, but like probably when the bridge fight because his
That
costume
sounds
looks
about right.
fine. Because I think it would be kind of
Mhm.
sucky if like he gets transported just before he dies and then gets transported back and it's like at the exact same moment and like he gets hit by the glider. He's like, oh shit, I didn't even get a moment to fix it, and then it still died.
Yeah.
I think that
Like
would
hopefully
suck.
there's some lag time, right?
Yeah. So I feel like it has to be at certain points where it kind of makes sense in the movie. Same thing with Electro. Like you can't just plop
Yeah.
him into the electric grid when he's normal now because that will be very bad. He'll still die there anyway, you know?
Yeah. So there has to
So
be
there has to be certain points for which they're going to be taken and when they're going to be brought back, you know?
exactly just cinematically makes
Yeah.
sense. Mhm.
So let's discuss one of my favorite parts of the movie, which was the Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man fight, which I really enjoyed. The mirror dimension fight,
It's
really
very
cool.
cool. Yeah. I wanted to get your opinion on the ending of that fight.
Did I feel like Doctor Strange lost, but not in a bad way. I think he lost in a very noble way. Like it's a way
Yeah.
in which you're not gonna be ashamed of like, oh my god, I just got my ass whooped by this kid. No, like I think like he outsmarted you, and I think that's the way that Doctor Strange is like. I'm kind of impressed. He's annoyed, obviously. Like when he comes back, he's like annoyed that like he's been stranded
Trapped
out in
there
the
for
Grand Canyon for 12 hours. But I think
uh
that like he's like, you got me good, and
yeah.
that was very creative and clever. I mean, like he's not yelling at Peter about anything. He's literally trying to plead like, don't do this, but he's not gonna be like you could see the kind of like the face when like the portal closes. He's like, yeah, I got defeated. This is my defeat.
Yeah.
You won fair and square.
Uh-huh. I agree. I thought that I'm glad you have that perspective. I was wondering because I know Doctor Strange is your favorite guy in the MCU right now.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you were gonna feel about him losing.
hmm I think it was a really cool fight, and I think that it was
I
pretty
agree.
funny that like Spider-Man actually won, and he brags about it right afterwards because obviously he should. You defeated the master of the mystic arts. I think that's a pretty big brag.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. With
Yeah.
geometry.
With
Math.
geometry. Which I don't know how that would have worked in reality. I think Doctor Strange would have been like, "Oh, I see this coming," and like actually like dodged it and stuff. But I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he's not a geometry buff.
Major.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So that was funny though. Yeah, very good scene. Very, very, very good way to actually have it happen on screen, I think.
Yeah. It also allows for Doctor Strange to be like, aside while Spider-Man actually does his thing. Because again, this is Spider-Man's movie. So it like gives us a way for Doctor Strange to kind of like be out of the way of the story. And now it's going to be just Spider-Man in this
Exactly,
story.
in a logical way, because he's trapped there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. He doesn't have a sling ring, so he can't come back,
I don't like that. I feel like, why do you need that thing to be able? I feel like if
Because you're
I
in
have
a
the
whole
skills-
different dimension of space and time, and like if you can't get out of it with the sling ring, then you're trapped.
I know. I feel like you should be able to do that though without the ring.
He should know how to get out of the mirror dimension without getting out of the mirror dimension.
without the tool.
Without the sling ring, no.
I don't know, but I mean, I'm not the writer. I'm not
Mhm.
a master of the mystic arts. So,
Yeah.
anywho though.
So
Last
what did you
one.
think about the apartment scene before the big fight? So when everybody's like going to get themselves fixed, like Electro's going to get himself fixed, Doctor Octopus got himself fixed by repairing the inhibitor chip on the back of his neck. Green Goblin's going to get the new serum. What did you think of like all these interactions in the apartment before the big fight?
I thought it was really cool to see all of them together and just chatting because they know this is their best chance.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see Dr. Octavius get cured in a way. Like
He
cured probably
didn't
isn't the
get
right
cured.
word.
He got cured.
Yeah, well, fixed maybe, or like the thing got fixed because
Yeah.
I think cure means you have like a disease, but he didn't. It was like the
Mm.
robot chip. So it's
Yeah.
cool to see Peter fix the chip and then have him back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like the scene when Peter feels something and like everything goes quiet.
The spider sense has really turned up to 11 in this movie when it was non-existent in the previous movie. This one had a lot more to like hone in on with the spider sense, and him using it and trusting it, I think was very important in this movie.
I agree. That scene was very dramatic.
I was like, what's happening? I don't know what's happening, but this is pretty cool. And then it's like he knew that he changed, and I was like, you got him.
Yeah. I don't know how the spider sense would pick that up.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, his
very,
spider
very
sense
good.
knew when Doctor Strange was trying to get the box, so I feel like
That's
in
true.
in his own mind, I feel like he can kind of go like, oh my god, something's wrong, something's changed. It's a different. It's not magic per se, but it's kind of like an extra sensory perception that's outside of the realm of normal kind of biology, I feel. So I feel like it's a different heightened sense of awareness that like he's like, oh, something has changed with one of these characters. What happens? And you can actually tell that it's Norman Osborn that's changed because every single character interacts with Peter and talks to him and he can hear it, except for Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn doesn't talk to him or say anything or anything like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have to see it again.
Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I did like about like this whole apartment scene was that like when Aunt May went up to Dr. Octopus, she's like, are you thirsty? He's like, yeah, I'm thirsty. He's like, fresh water or salt? Because you're an octopus, right?
Oh, I completely lost track of that scene.
I'm like, he's not a real octopus.
Yeah. Well, she's just trying to be courteous, right?
Yeah, she was being nice, yeah. But then I want to talk about one of the biggest things of this movie and this big fight scene, which I thought was really cool. Just to have
good job.
Green Goblin and Spider-Man like really go at each other. Not so in the way that it was in the first movie in 2002, but now it's like, you got this.
Yeah. Okay. I've only seen it once, so you just talk about all the nitty gritty.
I mean, like just having Spider-Man like take Norman Osborn, flip him up around, and then smash him through a balcony to the second balcony. That right there, it's like, a move that's one in the video game, in the PS4 video game, but it's also like it's just like a power move.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
They did a very good job, like incorporating all like the social media or the pulp culture stuff into this
Hmm.
movie.
Like,
At this point.
I'll just say that like having Green Goblin like smash Peter through so many different floors, to the fact that like he smashed them through so many floors, then he got to the lobby from like the one of the highest floors of the building to the lobby. It's like, damn, this guy is like really powerful.
Yeah, Peter was having a hard time.
Yeah.
He did not
And
come out of that fight
one part
fully
of
happy.
this fight was that when Peter like goes up to Norman and he's like punching him repeatedly over and over and over again, it reminded me of like the Dark Knight when like Batman and the Joker were in the interrogation room and Batman just keeps on hitting the Joker and the Joker just keeps on laughing. It's like that same kind of energy
Yep.
and vibe that like Norman Osborn is giving off. That he's just getting hit after hit after hit, and he's just like maniacally laughing. It was much better than they did in the 2002 movie. So I was very excited to see this. And he looked very different because like especially like when they're at the ground level and then when like he gets like the serum put in but it didn't work and like
Mhm.
he has Peter like literally down on the ground, he like kicks him down to the ground. Like he is ferocious.
Yeah, like you don't there's not if you think back to like the original Tobey Maguire movies, there's not much like one-on-one action in any of them
Yeah. The most
at all.
violent he is in the final fight in the first movie.
Yeah.
But this one has a lot more knit and grit. And I think what was really selling was that Willem Dafoe said he didn't want to come back as Green Goblin unless one, it wasn't a cameo, and it was a very major part of the movie, and two, he could do it his own stunts, which he did.
Really?
Yeah. So he did a lot of these stunts himself, and it shows because he kind of brings his whole effort in.
Yeah. I think that's also good when like a stunt person doesn't do something. Because
Yeah.
then like in Rocky, like when he fights, he's not a technically good fighter.
Mm-mm.
So when Sylvester Stallone plays him, Sylvester Stallone isn't a trained boxer, so it makes sense,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
So like it just works.
Hmm.
And okay, so I think we're both like dancing around how this fight ends.
So I want to ask you the big question. Like, did you cry? Did you cry?
I was so close. I was so close.
Yeah.
Like there's a few scenes in this movie where I'm like on the brink of
It's
tears.
right there.
Like I was like right there.
Hmm.
Yeah. I didn't.
I'll admit that I teared up a little bit at that scene because it was just so emotional because we thought she was fine. We thought Aunt May was fine. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Because I heard rumors that she was gonna die, and I was like, oh my God. And then she was like collapsed, and I'm like, no,
And
no.
I'm starting to tear up again. A tear didn't roll down, but
They were in the
my eyes
eyes.
got watery.
I
It's
think
happening
Tom
again.
Holland just really sold this acting really well. I think
He's great at these
this is his
types of
best
roles.
performance as Spider-Man. And
Yeah.
I think it shows just in this one scene where he's just so emotional and you can hear it in his voice and see it on his face that he's
Mhm.
just so upset that like he caused her to die in this
Mhm.
way.
I agree. He did a very good job with it,
Mhm.
and you can like feel it. And then
Yeah.
even when he gets shot in the shoulder,
Yeah. Which I thought was so stupid. I literally when I first saw him, I'm like, what are you doing? The
wait,
guy
Peter or the people who
who
shot
shot the
him?
thing, like, what are you doing? You're shooting him for what reason?
Yeah, none.
It's so, and that's one thing in this movie that we haven't even touched on yet, and it's Jonah Jameson, which I loved him in the Sam Raimi trilogy, but
Uh-huh.
he's not the same in this movie because he's a
No.
very antagonistic character and he's very hands-on with this antagonism. Like he's calling the police, he's calling
Yeah,
the
very
Department of
different
Damage
than
Control. Like, bro, chill the F out. He has done
yeah.
nothing yet. And now you're asking people, hey, shoot him for what?
Yeah. I can't wait to see if Peter ends up working for him later on.
Imagine he's like, all's forgiven. You don't remember me.
Yeah, definitely different. Because in the original one, he's kind of just like he just wants pictures and wants to
Mhm.
sit talk about how bad he is.
Yeah,
But in this one, you're right; it's much more personal.
yeah, he's more active in it.
I also thought it was funny with that character how yeah, how I think it's funny how at first like his original setup was like him in like a garage or something like that,
Yeah.
and then later on they show him in like this big like actual studio. I
Hmm.
think that was funny.
He got the upgrade because he's got the scoop on Spider-Man.
Exactly. Even before the Peter
Hmm.
Parker pictures of Spider-Man come out.
Right.
Yeah, that was a very emotional scene.
And it kind of leads into, which was interesting because like we get to the most sad scene in the movie to probably the most exciting scene in the movie. The
Total
flip
180
of
flip.
which 180, messing
Very.
with our emotions again.
Oh my god, Marvel is good at like bringing you to that low spot, but then
Hmm.
not keeping you there for that long.
Hmm.
Because no one wants to sit there for a while. They kind of like bring you there, you feel what they want you to feel, and then they just like here's some like uplifting part. Like they do a very good job of finding a good way to do that kind of back and forth.
Yeah. So, of course, in this scene, we have Ned have the sling ring, and he is magic, and he
I
can bring about Spider-Man, but it's not the right Spider-Man.
I did not see him being the one who brought them all together.
No, I did not think
Uh,
so. I told you about like one of the images from like the movie, but it was not him having the sling ring. It was him in the sanctum, but he must have just been clasping something in his hand or something because he didn't have the sling ring at the time.
no, he didn't, which is
So,
hilarious because he ends up getting
right,
it.
and he ends up using it and bringing them in.
Yeah. Oh my god. When I first saw like when you open it and this
Mm,
Spider-Man was coming, I was like,
this isn't the right one.
is that?
Looks different. I
And
thought
then
they
he
were gonna
pops
do
through,
Tobey
and I'm like,
Maguire first, to be honest.
what was that?
I thought they were gonna do Tobey Maguire first.
I thought so too.
But they did Andrew Garfield, which is okay, get the
I
first
don't
guy up
care.
there because he's kind of I think Andrew Garfield is more of the comic relief kind of Spider-Man. He's not as serious and he has more
I agree.
quips about him. So to bring
Yeah.
him in kind of makes sense because he has like a lot of things to talk about. He's very
Yeah.
talkative. So
Uh-huh. I agree. He's like the less awkward Peter
yeah.
Parker.
Hmm. And I did
God.
love the interaction between MJ and him, like, throw the bread. He's like, why'd you do that? And she's like, want to see if you have the tingle thing. He's like, I have the tingle thing, just not for bread. And then like he
I like
sticks
how they
to
made
the
him
ceiling, and then she's like, do it, crawl around.
this isn't good enough. I think it is. He's like, you're a very skeptical person. I respect that.
Yeah.
Uh, just the dialogue between. Oh my god, it was so good.
And then they brought in Tobey Maguire, of course, but it's
Yes,
not him as uh
Spider Man.
Spider-Man. It's him just regular
Tobey Maguire.
clothes. Yeah.
Yeah. What did Andrew Garfield call him? He's like, "Are you gonna suit up, or are you gonna?"
Gonna be dressed as a youth pastor.
That's what it was.
It's a
Yeah.
cool youth pastor.
And he was like, "Got it
I got
underwear,"
my costume.
which is funny because Tom Holland Superman doesn't actually wear it under his clothes.
Mm-mm.
I don't think throughout like this
Well, he
movies.
did in the first movie. He did in Spider-Man: Homecoming. He did wear it underneath his stuff.
He did for the party scene. Is that what
No,
you're
he
talking
also
about?
he also did it for when remember when he first suited up as Spider-Man, he went into that alley and he kind of got like everything dressed up and everything, and he put
But
like the
but he had to
backpack in
change
the alley.
out of his clothes and put on the suit,
Oh yeah,
right?
you're probably right. Yeah. Well, I mean, they learn.
No, yeah, I just think it's funny because I remember thinking, like, of course, superheroes wear their stuff under their clothes all the time. Then I
Yeah.
realized, like, none of the MCU characters actually wear their suits on all the time except Iron Man in the last movie
Mhm.
because he has the nano suit.
Sure.
I just think that was funny.
Hmm. And then they go over to comfort Peter, but Peter's like, I don't want to deal with you guys. I'm over this. I'm done. Like too much has happened to me.
That
But
hit me hard.
then MJ was like, nah, you can listen. And then we get the talk about how they lost Gwen and they lost Uncle Ben, and it was their fault. And I think what was interesting is that like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was like, I stopped holding my punches back, which is kind of like reminiscent of like I've hurt people bad enough to probably have killed them, you know, being so vengeful over what happened and so angry about it that he's just like, I don't want you to become the person that I am, which was a very hardened version, I feel, of Spider-Man.
Probably.
And then
Very emotional.
And of course we get like the very famous line from Aunt May that with great power there must also come great responsibility. And then they were like, that's what Uncle Ben said the night he died. So maybe she didn't die for nothing.
Yeah. That scene hit me hard.
And of course, that line that Aunt May gave is the exact quote from the comic book. It's not like with great power comes great responsibility. The exact quote is, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. That's the exact quote from the comic. So
they made it more original, or
they made it more comic accurate.
Interesting. I also think it's good that they did that, because if they had it the exact same way it was said before, I don't know if that. I think they brought it in a way that wasn't cheesy, which was good.
Yeah.
Which I think was probably hard to do. But yeah.
So we get into the scene with all of them doing their little science
in the lab.
In the lab, all three of them just repairing and getting stuff ready to cure that ass, as you would call it.
Yeah. It was very cool to see all of them do their science stuff. And their interactions and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. When
Ned with Tobey Maguire.
Yep. I was about to say that. I don't know why. So I said this to one of my friends. I was like, this may not be like a funny scene, but people laugh at it. Like it feels to me like it should be a serious scene, but it isn't. Like most people laugh at this scene for some reason.
It's like when like Robert Downey Jr. with his like quips in Iron Man 3, where it's just like brutal lines, but it's funny because it's like so over the top, you know.
But this one is like, this is so hard. It was so heartbreaking that my best friend killed himself while trying to kill me. It's like, it's supposed to be funny. I mean, I'll laugh along because everybody else is laughing, but I'm like, I don't understand why this is funny.
I think his deadpan way of saying it probably made it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because probably Ned wasn't probably like anticipating it to happen.
That's true. I don't know, but Ned it's like Peter, I will never try to whatever he said, and Peter's like,
I promise I will never turn into a supervillain and try and kill you. He's like, okay, right?
Is that what Peter said? Was Peter just like, okay?
Yeah. And then Andrew Garfield was like, you got this. You got this. Good job. Good. Because both of their best friends turned on them. So it's like, be the third one.
It's so great. Oh my God. It's so funny because like Spider-Man's a comic relief character in a way. Now we have three of them.
So then we get to the big final battle, and then we have like the long conversation with them, which I thought was great. It's probably one of the best parts of the film.
Oh my God, so good. The back cracking scene when he's like, my back.
You remember that reference to Spider-Man 2 where he's like, my back. And then he cracks the back and I'm like, what is going on?
And the web shooters and like not having them.
Make your own web fluid in your body. That's so cool.
Do you ever have a web lock?
That's have you seen that like leaked like video of Andrew Garfield saying that? Okay, so that was a huge thing that happened where like they had a leaked set video. It was like kind of like it didn't have volume or anything. But you could see him say something like, do you have web blood? That's what people thought it was in. And I was waiting for that one scene, and it's a web block. I was like, there it is.
So much better.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I did have a web block, existential crisis.
Don't even get me started.
And then they were like, hey, where are some of the craziest villains you guys have fought? And he's like, you met some of them. He's like, I fought an alien made out of black goo once. And of course, references to the mid-credit scene of this movie, but and then Peter's like, oh yeah, I fought an alien too. He was purple on Earth and in space. And he's like, oh, you fought an alien in space. And then
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, I'm lame compared to you guys.
Yeah.
I just fought a guy with a rhinoceros suit.
He's like, you're amazing. You're amazing. You need to hear this. You're amazing.
Well, thank you. I'm not saying that I'm lame. No, it's this self-talk that you have to deal with.
uh, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man definitely seemed like the most insecure, kind of broken Spider-Man of the three.
I mean, I think it's also kind of like a meta way of saying, like, we don't think highly of his movies. So I think it's a way of like saying, like, you are amazing regardless of what people say about you.
Mm-hmm. I also heard that they're going to make another. There's a possibility of making another Andrew Garfield movie. I would love that.
I think it's just going to be too confusing for people.
I feel like it'd be cool if it picked up when he got back, though.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
I feel like it'd be weird because I feel like they did leave a lot to be, I can't think of the phrase. I don't know.
Open-ended.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you met a girl in Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 3, whose name is MJ, you may be like, MJ.
MJ. Huh. I know who you are.
That's an interesting name.
Yeah. And then like they start doing the big fight, but then they can't work together because they're used to working by themselves. And then they have the other scene where they're all together. It's like, what's going on out there? I keep telling you, Peter 2, Peter 2, Peter. It's like, no, I thought you were Peter 2. It's like, no, I'm not Peter 2.
They numbered them wrong.
Yeah. And then they said like we suck, like we don't know how to work as a team. And it's like, well, I know how to work as a team. Like, I don't like to brag, but I will. I was on the Avengers. And then Tobey Maguire's like, the Avengers? That's great. What is that? It's like, you guys don't have the Avengers? It's like, no.
That's so weird to think about it, right?
They don't have the Avengers.
They don't have the Avengers.
But the thing is that I think it's funny is that like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy has Doctor Strange in it, but then like Dr. Octopus is like, magic? What is this nonsense? What is this, a birthday party? It's like, wait, so you have Doctor Strange, but I guess you don't believe that Doctor Strange is magic in your universe.
But how do we know he has Doctor Strange?
Because in Spider-Man 2, like when Jonah Jameson's trying to come up with names for Dr. Octopus.
Oh, you're right.
Dr. Octopus? No. Science Squid? No. Doctor Strange. That's good. But it's taken. And then he goes to Dr. Octopus again. So Doctor Strange is in the Sam Raimi trilogy. But I guess
maybe it's just a doctor. Maybe it's just a famous doctor.
Maybe. I don't know.
Interesting.
But then like they all work together, and I think like the one scene where they all like, go out and they all land, it's like Tobey, Andrew, Tom.
So good.
Perfectly placed scene.
Yeah. The ending is like cinematic brilliance.
Mm-hmm. They all like, start curing them. And I didn't reference this before, but like Thomas Hayden Church, who plays Sandman, wasn't able to make it onto the set of this movie. So if you see when he starts turning back from being sand to being human, that's stock footage from Spider-Man 3 that they just incorporated into the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, because he couldn't make it on set, so they're like, we're just going to take the footage from that movie and just put it into our movie. And I noticed that immediately because I had just watched Spider-Man 3 like a few days before the movie came out, and I saw that. I was like, that looks very similar to him in Spider-Man 3, and it turns out that it's true.
Interesting. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I want to notice that.
Yeah. So they start curing them one at a time, getting them all there. Doctor Strange comes back, and he's like, where is he? Takes the stuff back, and then it's like, wait, he's curing them. He's like, well, I'll be damned. He's actually doing it.
Yeah.
But then he's like, did you just open a portal? And he's like, and that's like, yeah. He's like, okay. Yeah. He was wrong about two things.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if Doctor Strange didn't open the box,
Mhm.
The ending would have been different.
What do you mean,
When it
Doctor
made
Strange opened the box?
wasn't it like more closed? Wasn't like half closed,
It was kind of close, yeah.
and
But he
then
was still
Doctor
trying to
Strange
perform
opened
the
it more.
ritual.
Yeah.
So what happened was that like everybody was being cured, and then the last one to be cured was Green Goblin, and then
Mhm.
he came in, took the box,
Mhm.
and then like Doc Ock and Doctor Strange like took the box back. Green Goblin sliced off one of the tentacles of Doctor Octopus,
Mhm.
and
I
as
think
he
it
was
was great that he
performing,
came back as a hero, like a good guy.
yeah,
I think that was good.
and as he was doing the ritual, there's like the bomb in there, and that's what exploded and made the spell come out.
Yeah, so I think if Doctor Strange didn't try to like continue the spell and just like
Mhm,
let Peter do his own thing, it
mhm.
wouldn't have made the spell. It would have made it more unstable, and then everyone could have known who Peter was. You know, I
Maybe,
think he prematurely tried to complete it.
yeah.
I don't know.
So, what did you think about the final battle on the shield, on Cap's shield, between Spider-Man and
Dramatic,
Green Goblin?
very dramatic.
Very dramatic. I think like this showed a side of Peter that was very angry, and you could tell because he was just like vicious. He became vicious now in this battle.
Very much so. Like
Mhm.
no holds barred.
Yeah,
Like if it wasn't for Tobey Maguire Spider Man,
he would have killed him. He would have absolutely killed him.
probably. And
And
I
I think,
think Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider Man have, I think, done that in their own
mhm,
movies.
yeah,
Tom Holland is the only one who had kind of remained. Uh, I don't know
no
what the word.
kills
Yeah,
directly.
yeah. Except like the aliens
Yeah.
in Endgame. But
Um, but it's funny that it's Tobey Maguire who pushed the glider away because like
I
I
like
had
that.
just seen it a couple days ago. I don't know if I sent it to you, but
You
like
sent it to me.
that scene in Spider-Man 3 where Aunt May is like Spider-Man shouldn't be the one who decides who lives or who dies. You know, it's not up for us to decide that. And he's
Exactly.
like that reflection of like you know, you don't get to decide if he lives or dies. Like that's his own fate to deal with, you know?
Yeah, I agree. That I thought that like the picture you sent definitely
Made sense.
makes that scene better.
Mm. What'd you think of Tobey Maguire getting stabbed?
I was like, no, no. I was like, no, he's gotta make it. Please, he's gotta make it. And then I was like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with another thing. No, he
Yeah.
has to make it. And then once like, um, what was the Andrew Garfield says something to him, and Tobey Maguire is like, yeah, I've been stabbed before. I was like,
Yeah.
he's gonna make
Yeah,
it.
I'm
Like
alright. I've been stabbed before.
once he made the joke.
But everybody in the theater that I was with for the first few showings was like, no! Did you hear that? It's like, "Ah," and I was like, oh my god, are they gonna kill my childhood?
I was like, oh no, I was like, all the theories are right. He's not gonna make it. But then once they made the joke, I was like,
Oh
he's okay.
my god.
Yeah. And I like the part where they're standing. Andrew Garfield is like helping Tom McGuire, and he's
Mhm.
like, "You're in incredible pain right now, aren't you?"
He's like, yeah, I am.
uh,
So, people in the sky, because the spell got released by Green Goblin, it exploded, and now it's like destroying the
ooh,
fabric of
also
reality.
really quick, I like how Andrew Garfield then threw the serum, and in the end, Tom Holland finished Aunt May's mission. I
Sure.
liked that.
Yeah.
Not mission. Finished her
It's
goal.
her mission. It was her mission. Let's just call it that.
Okay.
Um, so people in the sky, because the spell has now broken out into the fabric of reality, starting to break away.
Mhm.
You've only seen it once. Did you see any recognizable characters in there? I know you saw the stuff that I sent you, but did you, in the first time seeing it, see any recognizable characters from?
There was the only one that I was like, I think that is that character because I knew all of them were going to be tied to Spider-Man in some way.
Mhm,
The only one that I thought might be who it was Craven, the Hunter.
mhm, yeah.
I think he's the most obvious one. I think they focused on his more. I
Mhm,
think his lasted on screen more. So I noticed his, and then that was it. I was
okay.
like, I know other people are going to be important.
Yeah.
But they show a lot of
Mhm.
characters. No, they show a lot more than I thought.
I can't wait to see it like on home video to just kind of pause it and go like, who's that character? Who's that one? Who's that one? Who's that one? You know?
Yeah, it would definitely be fun.
Yeah. But of course, if you see TikToks or videos of it, you'll see that like there's Craven the Hunter, you have Rhino, you'll have Scorpion, you'll have another version of Mysterio,
Mhm.
you'll have Black
Mhm.
Cat, you'll have the Superior Spider-Man. So those are the ones that are like most recognizable in that scene, basically.
Who's the superior Spider-Man?
Superior Spider-Man is when in the comics Peter Parker dies and Dr. Octopus's brain goes into Peter Parker's body. And he becomes the superior Spider-Man and has like tentacles coming out of him. A very weird storyline.
Does Peter come back?
Yeah, he does. He resurrects, of course.
Okay, we'll open that can of worms another time then.
So Doctor Strange is like, they're all coming through and I can't stop them. And Peter's like, well, can we just do the spell again? And he's like, no, it's like, we can't. This is getting too out of hand. And Peter's very, very self-sacrificing in this entire movie, from when like he's trying to convince the MIT woman that like MJ and Ned should be in MIT. Like he's like, this isn't about me, this is about them, and she's still trying to make it about him. So he's very selfless in that respect. Very selfless, where he's like sacrificing himself and his whole thing to
Everything.
rescue these people, rescue the villains basically from being killed off. And now he is sacrificing himself, basically making people forget that he ever existed in order for the fabric of reality itself to repair itself, basically. Which I was very surprised by this ending. I did not think that this was going to happen, but a very noble way to kind of end the movie, and very emotional scene between him, Ned, and MJ, where they all have to like say their goodbyes, basically.
I know it hit me hard because him growing up with Ned, all those things.
Yep, and having MJ like find out who he is, and then like all what they've gone through and everything.
Yeah.
And then
One thing I don't get is though, what about the pictures on her phone? I'm sure she has pictures of.
I'll talk about that.
Okay.
And also like Doctor Strange when he's like, you know, if I do the spell, like everybody who knows and loves you, and like he started to tear up. So like obviously he cares about Peter, and he's like, we will not have no memory of you. And then like he says his goodbye by saying like, you know, goodbye, sir. And then he's like, call me Steven. Which is very nice. And then Doctor Strange is like, out, and now he's doing the spell. And then the spell actually works. Peter tries to go back and make his promise work with MJ and Ned, but he finds out that their lives are kind of better without him in it. They're in MIT, their wounds have healed, and they're not hurting in a physical and metaphorical sense. So he realizes like maybe they may be better without me. And he just leaves the coffee shop.
Yeah, that also that hit me hard too. She did seem skeptical. I do think she's gonna figure out something.
Maybe. If he comes in often enough, yeah. What did you think of
I think the way that...
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like the way that the end, everything, sets it up to be like just how the just how the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was kind of. Like he's on his own, he's living in an apartment, he's gonna have to get a job, he's probably gonna end up working at the paper. His new suit. Because now he's on his own.
What do you think about the new suit?
Very sparkly.
It's very comic accurate. It's very fluorescent blue, very nice bright reds, very comic accurate for how it looks.
I think it would be, I mean, we don't get to see much of it, but I think it would be cool to see. Like an actual scene with like him actually doing something.
And that's how the movie ends. It cuts right there just having him be on his own. And I think what I think a lot of people have been saying is that they enjoy that this is how it's ending, because now he's not connected to Tony Stark. He's no longer connected to Doctor Strange or the Avengers or anybody. He's on his own, which is the way that Spider-Man is supposed to be. Because I know people have always criticized that, like, he should not have the reliance on others to be Spider-Man. He should be Spider-Man on his own, you know?
Yeah.
And now he is. He is completely on his own, now having to deal with his own stuff and be Spider-Man on his own.
Yeah. I just don't like how the scene with Happy. Oh my god. I was like, no.
Like, Happy doesn't know of all the stuff that, like, Tony Stark and him have been through, and Happy and him have been through.
I know.
But now Happy can be able to just, like, you know, be on his own and kind of just, you know, deal without Spider-Man and all that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. It very emotional.
Yeah. But I will say, so to go back to your question about, like, what about pictures on her phone? Like, you saw that she has the Black Dahlia necklace still.
She sells the cut on her eyebrow too.
So it's like, why does she still have it? Does she remember that, you know? And also, like, how do people remember Spider-Man and Peter Parker? Like, how do they see, like, you know, because there are certain characters who will see his face. How will they not know who he is now and associate that with Peter Parker if they know who that is, you know? And also, like, as you said, photos on phones and, like, all kinds of records and stuff. I feel like when the spell happens, one, when people who have seen Peter Parker as Spider-Man, when they have a memory of Spider-Man. So, for example, in Infinity War, Doctor Strange knows who Peter Parker is, sees him as Spider-Man. I feel how the spell works in memories is that it's either like a blurred face or like it's going to look like the mask is on. So you can't actually see and recognize that it's Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Interesting.
And I think with, like, technology and the records and everything, like, you saw that Peter has, like, a GED test. So I don't know if he doesn't have any records of him being in school. It's kind of weird in that way. It's kind of like flippy flop. But I feel like there's going to be obviously no records of, like, you know, Mysterio's video revealing that he's Spider-Man, or like any records of, like, the file footage or like the newspaper records or anything like that. They're all, like, eliminated.
I don't know how. Like, I think they'll explain it because, like, something like the necklace, like, that's a big one too.
Right.
And stuff like, how could other stuff, like, how did it pick and choose?
How does this magic happen where it just takes things and, like, throws them out?
Yeah, I think they're somehow gonna connect it or something. Maybe
like,
I don't know.
Click delete on this file, this file, this file, this file, this file, this file.
Not this one, this one. I don't know. It's weird.
But it works, and now he's on his own. So it's like, you know, basically a fresh start, as they had foreshadowed also when they were on the rooftop of the school, and Ned, MJ, and Peter were all like, you know, it's gonna be a fresh start when we go to college, and it's foreshadowing to having basically a fresh start for
all Boston, right?
It's
funny because I think it's funny because we're so close to Boston.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I also like how he dresses different. He definitely dresses a lot more mature.
Yeah, because he's kind of grown through these last 3 movies.
Yeah. Okay, so, what were you gonna say?
What did you think of the mid-credit scene?
A, I thought it was hilarious. B, I don't see how that would happen.
Explain what you mean.
How would a portion? That doesn't make any sense. I feel like everything is supposed to go back to where it was. Not like, you know, we'll leave a little speck of dust here or some slime here. Like, you know what I mean? I think everything goes back. But
because I will say this. You haven't seen Venom 2, right?
No,
You haven't seen Venom 1.
I have not.
So you don't know that like the symbiote can obviously molt and little pieces can break off. And it's also comic accurate that little pieces of the symbiote can fall off of the symbiote. So it kind of makes sense that like a little piece will be left behind, especially in like an event where it's like they're getting transported back to their reality. The symbiote's little part of it gets left. Because in Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, a little piece of the symbiote is in Eddie Brock's blood, and like Cletus Cassidy bites Eddie Brock and gets a little bit of the symbiote mixed in with the blood. So a little bit of the symbiote kind of comes off of Eddie Brock in the same way that it does here in this movie, where it's like a little bit will just be left off, you know, kind of shedding, molting, you know, spawning new versions of itself, basically.
Okay.
So that's how I thought. I thought you were asking like, how does Venom know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man?
No.
If they're from two different universes.
So you tell me about that one. Your
Yeah.
theory on that one. Or you sent me a video on it.
Well, it's actually been confirmed by the writers of No Way Home that they said that like the Venom symbiotes, and they all have like a collective mind that they all can like know of other universes, and in that hive mind, like one of them knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and then that kind of connects to this Venom symbiote, which then gets transported into the MCU.
Interesting.
But now it kind of sets up in the next trilogy of Spider-Man, where he's now going to have to face like the Venom symbiote now, because now that little piece of the symbiote is probably going to go out and try and find Peter Parker now, since that was what Eddie Brock was going to do. This little Venom symbiote was like, I want to find this very powerful person. Let me go find him, you know?
Yeah. It'd be very interesting to see it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was funny though that everyone was like, "It's gonna be such a big part of this movie." Oh my god!
He's like one little part, and then he gets like taken out.
That means he spent like 2 days there.
Yeah, and I like how he was like talking to the waiter of like, you know, okay, so you have like these superpowered people, right? And this Tin Man who flies around, and like, you know, he's made out of metal, and he's the waiter's like, yes, rip to him. And then he's like, okay, and this like big green guy that's like always angry, Hulk. And then he's like, oh, and you thought Lethal Protector was a shit name. And then he's like, well, tell me about this alien that you love stones so much. Because let me tell you that like aliens, they don't like stones, they like eating brains. Because Venom eats people.
It was definitely, it was something.
Very meta, very, very weird to have someone from the Sonyverse talking about the MCU. Of course, he's coming back with this knowledge, so
it was very funny because someone in the audience, I don't know if they did it when you saw it. Someone was like, "Oh man," like when he got brought back.
Oh
like,
no!
Disappeared. There I go.
Yeah,
so funny.
Someone in my theater was like, "What's that?" when they saw the little piece of symbiote, and I'm like, "Dude, did you really just ask what's that? Like, come on, with the program."
Which showing was that? First, second, or third, or fourth, or fifth?
It was the first showing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I thought someone who would have seen it that early would have been more into the comic book.
They saw the little piece, but they didn't know what it was until it started to move. Then it's like, and then it like clicked in their head. It's like, really, you had to figure that out. You had to see it to know. I don't know.
But I think the big credit scene, like the most important one for now, is the after credit scene, the last one.
Yes, and if you notice, it's not actually like an end credit scene. It's like a trailer, because
it's a trailer. It's full on.
What
like
they did is that they separated this movie, which is a combination of Sony and Disney, and they finished that movie, cut off, then they go into straight Disney without Sony. So they get into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is not affiliated with Sony. So they ended the Sony movie, continued with the actual Disney movie.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, got me really excited for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
It looks so cool.
It looks so good. And it's going to be like a horror film kind of feel to it. And as you could tell.
Yeah, it does seem like different.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Wanda and he says, this isn't about Westview.
Mm-hmm. He's like, what do you know about the
like,
multiverse?
Yeah. I can't wait. It'll be cool. And then they connect What If. Who would have thought they would have connected What If that quick? Right?
I know. Having the evil Doctor Strange. Well, I don't know what to call him. People say evil Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange Supreme. Could be the Necromandus, which is from the comics. Who knows? I don't know what his whole thing is going to be in the plot, but
he definitely looks
evil.
Yeah, I was trying to find the right word
he
for
looks bad,
but he's not. And even at the end of What If, he's not.
Yeah,
he
he's
makes like
very
a self-sacrificing play at the end.
Yeah, so I don't know what he is per se.
I don't know.
Maybe it is a variant of Doctor Strange that's just evil.
Yeah, it might not even be the What If guy, right?
Right. But of course, that's the only thing that we associate with is like, what if Doctor Strange is now in here, which could make sense. Maybe something did happen from What If to now that we just don't know about, you know?
That's true, because they're making a second season of What If, right?
Right.
So.
But I did love Scarlet Witch in this trailer, how she looks. And if you saw when she's doing the seance, her fingers are black in the same way that Agatha Harkness's fingers were black in WandaVision when she was using her magic. So that means like Wanda's magic level is like getting up there.
She's been practicing.
Mm-hmm. And you also saw America Chavez in the trailer as well. It's the young girl that's with Doctor Strange in a few shots. If you can go back in the trailer, you'll see like she's on his right when he's looking out the door to like where all that stuff is, you know? Okay. She's behind him when like the bus comes at them and he cuts it in half. She's gonna be a very prominent character in this movie.
Okay. Who is she?
She's a very super powerful being who can like transport through other dimensions and timelines and everything else. And she's known by her star portals, which in one shot of the trailer, you'll see that there's like a star portal that like someone is going through. So that's going to be kind of important if you're going to transport through the multiverse. Like you want someone like her to go through.
I think that'd be very cool. She doesn't need a sling ring.
No, she just has her own portals.
Exactly.
She can get through the mirror dimension just fine.
Yeah.
Teach Doctor Strange a little thing or two.
Yeah, right. It looks completely different than the first Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, and I'm all for it.
It does look very good.
Mm-hmm. I've watched it a few times because it's released now in the public domain that we can watch it, and I've seen it several different times. And if you see it in the public view, not just from the movie at the end credit scene, they do the Marvel Studios logo and they have it like a broken mirror, like they do in What If, but they have different versions of the Marvel Studios logo from like phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 as like variations of it, kind of like having them all meld together.
I have to look at that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That does sound very cool.
So you know this is going to be like a big movie that's going to intersect probably not just all of Marvel Studios, but probably Fox Universe, Sony Universe, all these different universes with all these different characters that had their own property rights that now Disney can use.
Yeah. This is definitely... What's funny is, before like the Spider-Man movie is going to be like the biggest Marvel movie, besides maybe Endgame.
Yeah.
But now like this Doctor Strange movie, probably going to be the most significant with respect to the Marvel universe.
Everything, yeah.
For a little while.
For a little while.
At least until they have the Endgame equivalent, whatever this.
Whatever this new saga is leading towards.
Exactly.
Basically.
Very cool.
So.
I can't wait.
Now comes the very important portion of this episode. What are you going to rate this, Billy? What do you rate this movie?
9 out of 10.
Really, a 9?
Yeah. No, 9.5.
Okay, 9.5. Is
Mhm.
that your final answer?
My final answer.
I'm also giving it a 9.5 out of 10.
Air 5.
There you go. Because 10s are
Nice.
Endgame and Infinity War for me, so this is like a step below that. You know, it has the same gravitas as Infinity War and Endgame,
Yeah.
but it's not the same.
No. And it's different. Right?
Yeah. Like it has that like nostalgia
Like
feel
this one was
to it.
definitely big, but Endgame was like being foreshadowed for like a decade.
Yeah. Like it brought all these Spider-Man that we knew from our childhood and everything and made all the references. And it definitely had a lot of emotional weight and a lot of good storytelling. But I feel like having just every single superhero be in one place in one movie kind of trumps that a little bit. This did have an Endgame like feel when I was watching it in the movie theaters, because obviously people were reacting in a similar way to when they saw Cap
It did.
get the hammer, or when the final battle happened, or when Iron Man like snapped his fingers. So it did have that similar feel, but I don't think it eclipsed that. And that's why I will say this is not one of my it's not my favorite movie of all time.
No.
It's one of them.
I agree. I agree with that assessment.
Mm-hmm.
There's one scene though that I do want to bring up from the movie really quick. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this scene also made me tear up a lot. It was when Andrew Garfield caught
Oh, yes.
MJ.
Yeah. And
I'd be remiss
redeemed
if we didn't.
himself.
Yeah, I'd be very remiss if we didn't talk about that.
That's
That
true.
scene, like when he caught her and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like,
I'm trying.
"Yeah."
I'm
Like
trying
that.
to hold my tears in.
That got me.
Yeah, it's like, well, your redemption arc is made, you know.
Yeah, I thought that was a great way to have like great thing to work into this movie.
Mm-hmm. And he
Very
can
much
kind of
so.
feel better about himself, knowing that he learned from his mistake and actually helped another version of himself keep his love interest for at
Exactly.
least a few scenes before she forgot who he was.
Yeah. They didn't know that was
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, that's the last thing I can think of for the movie.
I just want to say, like, the interactions between the Spider-Man and their villains, like when Tobey Maguire interacts with Doc Ock,
Yeah.
has a similar. So when Peter
That's
says, like, you know, because Dr. Octopus is like, "How are you?" and he's like, "Trying to do better." That's the exact same line from Spider-Man 2 when he introduces himself to Dr. Octopus or
Oh,
Dr.
really?
Octavius. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
hmm And then like the interaction with Electro and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, "Oh, you were from Queens and you wear that suit. Like, you know, I thought you were black." And he's like, "I'm sorry." And he's like, "Don't worry about it. There's probably a black Spider-Man out there." And there is.
Yeah.
Miles Morales,
Oh yeah.
which I
Uh,
hope he's going to be in this trilogy, because I think
it'd be
that's
cool.
where, yeah, I think that's where it's going to like really peak, that there's going to be another version of Spider-Man actually in the MCU and not just like from another universe.
Yeah, like yeah, I agree. I think it'd be cool because I think that'd be a cool like dynamic between the two, especially because Peter Parker now needs a new best friend.
Yeah. He needs a new best friend.
Well, hopefully he can just get another one. I still want Ned to be.
He'll get a replacement somehow.
Okay.
So that's all I have to say about this movie.
Me as well.
Yeah. This was really good, and I think like you need to see it a second time for it to really kind of hone in on you.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I will. I will most likely see it before it comes out of theaters again.
Mhm.
Because I don't know how I'm gonna end up seeing it once it comes out of theaters. Because I don't know if it will be on Disney Plus.
Well, you can get a Blu-ray version if you still have hard disk drives.
I have a PlayStation 3 that I can use, but
There you go. Use that.
we'll see. Very cool, though. Very good movie.
Well, that's the end of this discussion and review. Please tell us what you thought down below if you could, because we love to hear what you have to say about this movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, why are you watching this episode? Go watch the movie. And if you have seen the movie
Yeah, how
already,
dare you make it this far?
go watch the movie again, because this movie was amazing.
Yeah. See it more than me, but probably less than Rob.
Maybe, if you really want to.
If you have seen it more than Rob, please comment down below how many times you've seen it.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button and the subscription button. Both are next to each other for a reason. Go and hit one and then hit the other. And then
And the
go
notification bell. Like that's
go
it.
to our Instagram as well, also in the description down below. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy, everyone.